Kassi, Dante, once again has been talking your ear off about his favorite thing, that is Batman, and particularly the animated series of Batman. And in order to keep this a happy marriage, you feel there is a need to change the subject. So how would you move along the conversation? You're probably well practiced at this, but move it from his topic of Batman to your topic today.
Well, speaking of Batman, there is a musical called Holy Musical Batman by this group called Star Kid. And they do theater productions that are really fun and all on YouTube.
Very good. So I've gathered from that our topic today is Star Kid? No, it is the theatre. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So let's start the show.
Well, he's got a new guest, time to put him to the test. So hey, what's the topic? We don't know, cause he never does research for this show. His name is Jason, he wants to talk to you about a topic you love or something you do. No two topics are ever the same. That might sound impressive, but they're all pretty lame. A conversation with
Hello, you're listening to A Conversation With, the podcast where each week I'm joined by a different guest and we have a conversation on a topic of their choice. And joining me this week is Kassi. So last week we were speaking with her husband Dante. So we're very happy to have Kassi on the show in person this time because, Kassi, I've heard you on a number of podcasts, but usually it's because Dante's on the podcast and he's asking you a question kind of off pod, and you just hear a little voice in the back of the room kind of correcting him or telling him what he said is wrong. So I'm quite interested to actually finally have a conversation with you. So hello, Kassi. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Oh, that's excellent. Now, I should say, because I promised I would bring it up in continuity, that you've kind of got a sore throat. You've had some issues. You have, soldiered on despite every reason not to come on the podcast. I mean, at least they were the reasons you were giving me. But you said, I'm going to do it anyway, but my voice might not be great. So,
yeah, it is a little funky.
Yeah, so if anybody starts tweeting mean things, stop it. But you sound fine, don't worry. So we're talking about the theatre.
Yeah.
Why?
It's just something I've had a passion for like my whole life. I've always been in production since I was little, whether it was like church productions or school productions. It's just something that I've really taken to and enjoyed.
Yeah, so when you say like theatre, what comes to mind for you? Are we talking kind of musicals, or you prefer just sort of stage productions that are more, I don't want to say dramatic, but maybe a kind of a more straight story, or you don't care as long as somebody's on stage? What's your sort of opinion here?
Well, I would include musicals as well as just straight plays in theater. I haven't done as many musicals myself, well, I guess I've seen a lot of musicals, but I haven't done them myself so much, just a couple, but I enjoy them, and that's
all that matters. So you enjoy them. Do you have a favorite play or a favorite production? I will actually rephrase this as to a favorite play or production that you have been in, and the favorite one that you have been to see. Okay. And if they're the same one, that's cheating.
Okay. The favorite one that I've been to see. Oh, let's see. I had to see one on screen because it was the National Theatre Live. I saw a war horse where they use these giant puppet horses, and it sounds ridiculous, but it's really amazing. Look up pictures. It's incredible. You forget that the puppeteers are there. It takes 3 people to operate one of the horses, and you forget that they're there because they do such a good job at it.
Yeah. I've
Yeah.
not seen it, but I will. I mean, you've told me to Google it, so I've been given homework already. We're like 5 minutes in, and I've been given homework, which is fine. So I'm guessing you weren't in that, as it was a big production. So what's going to be your answer for your favorite one that you've actually been a part of?
Wow, that's a hard one. But I'd probably have to say Peter and the Starcatcher, which is like Peter Pan, but kind of like a prequel to it.
Right, okay. Because when you said it, I was thinking, is this going to be Peter Pan? And then you're like, and the Starcatcher, and I'm like, yeah, I got nothing here. I have no idea what this is. So it's a Peter Pan prequel.
Pretty much, yeah. It's based on a book series.
Okay. I've, again, never heard of this, but don't feel bad. That says more about me than it does about you. So what is it then about the theatre that kind of draws you to it? Because if anybody listened to quite a few episodes ago, so Dante was just on last week speaking about Batman, but way back on the first guest appearance he made on here, he was speaking about film and sort of how he likes that, and he likes all the kind of behind the scenes things and how they create these like worlds. And I think we were talking about how maybe a director kind of has a vision of a character, and there are parts of this character that we never know or we never see, and it's like, well, he made this decision because in the backstory I have created, he's done this or done that, and it's like, okay, well, I didn't get that, but that's what he likes about film. What is it then for you with the theatre? Why is I'm guessing that you are more drawn to that than you are to like cinema and film.
Yeah.
So what is it that really grabs you?
I think I really enjoy the ability to be someone else and just walk in someone else's life. It gives you a greater understanding of other people, both as a performer and as a viewer, because as a viewer, it pulls you in and you want to know more about these people. And as a performer, you have to study them and figure out who they are and why they're doing what they're doing. So I really enjoyed that aspect. It gives you a better understanding of people in general, and particularly the kind of people that you're portraying or seeing. And I also really like how everyone has to work together, whether you're managing the house or you're working backstage or you're doing lights or you're on the stage. Everyone has to work together for this production to go well. And it adds to the theater being alive, where no performance will ever be exactly the same as another one. Whereas you watch a movie and it's going to be the same thing every time. But if you go to a show 2 times, you're going to be watching 2 different shows.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a different experience. And I mean, it's like more expensive to get a ticket to the theater than to the cinema, but you can kind of see like where your money is going that night. Whereas with the cinema, you're like, well, they've already made the film. Like whether I go and see it or not, they've made it. And I was thinking, like as you said, everyone's involved. You can't have the star just go to their trailer and be like, I'm just going to sit here for 2 hours while you guys do the other. Like everybody has to kind of chip in to make it work. It was interesting your comment about being somebody else, like walking in someone else's shoes, because a few episodes ago, sort of slightly before we changed tack on the show a bit, there was an episode about cystic fibrosis with William, and he started his podcast Straight from the Lungs. And one of he was interviewing different people with cystic fibrosis, and obviously they have quite a shorter life expectancy because of this. And one of the people he spoke to was like an actress, and the reason was because she felt like, I get to live all these different lives like in a short space of time. So that's something that just popped into my head as soon as you were sort of saying you get to be someone else. And I guess it is a bit more like method than a film, because you're not getting constant interruption. Like, you know, for that whole stretch, you are that character. Whereas in a film, maybe you're that character for months that they are shooting this film, but only for like snippets of time, because you'll film a scene and then you cut, and now everybody is again, you know, like if you're like a character who is, you know, a poor, downtrodden, hated person, and then as soon as it's like cut, everybody's treating you like royalty because you're some big Hollywood star. It's got to be, you know, a bit jarring to kind of have this shift between these two people. Whereas, you know, in the theatre, you are that person for the next 2 hours, and that's it. Kind of. Yeah, understandable. Do you go fairly often to the theatre, or is it a very rare treat these days? What I'm really asking is
pretty
Dante
rare.
taking you to the theatre or not? And if not, why not?
Unfortunately, no, not recently, just because it is expensive. So it's hard to be able to go. I did go a lot more when I was in school because it was required for classes. Because I have a degree in theater, so
convenient.
we did go see a lot of plays.
We have to go. I'm going for school. I used to go. I would say like once a year, but maybe not even once a year. It was kind of when I would come back to England. So when I was living abroad, whenever we'd come back, like I would always go and see a show at the theatre, because it was kind of the one thing I obviously just could not do when I was living in. I can see a film and I can put it in English, but I can't go and see kind of a live production. So yeah, I'm quite theatre-y in that sense. Like, I've been and seen a lot of shows. But yeah, I get what you're saying, that there is something about knowing that, like, hey, if they mess up, that's it. There's nobody shouting cut. Like, you've got one chance at this, so get it right. So are you still performing at all? That will be my next question then.
No, unfortunately, I'm not. There is a community theater that I'm trying to get back involved in, that I was before I went to college, like 5 years ago now. But they're not doing any productions right now, so as soon as they are, though, I'm gonna audition for sure.
Yeah. Are you like, when you're going for an audition, are you like, I'm going for leading lady, or you're just like, I am happy to be villager number 7 in the background, I just want to be on stage? Or do you have that feeling like, hey, I studied this, I know what I'm doing, I need to be front and center, this is my show.
I wish I could be one of those people that it's like, yeah, I'm villager number 2 and I'm thrilled, but I'm really not. I would definitely prefer having larger roles, just because otherwise, like, one time I was in a play where I actually was 2 characters, but I only had 16 lines throughout the whole 2 hours. And so, like, most of what I did was stand there. And it's just kind of miserable for me to just be on the sidelines watching everybody else do things. So it's not necessarily that I want to be in the star role. It's just I want to have more to do.
Yeah. It's like, you should tell the director that. Look, it's not that I need the big role. It's just, I get bored very easily. So if I'm not...
I do, though.
Like, do you really want a grumpy villager number 2 who's just standing by the side? Everybody can see she doesn't want to be there, because that's going to ruin the magic for all the people that are paying to come and see the show. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about this Peter and the Star. I want to say Catcher, you said it was, or Gazer?
Yeah.
Catcher.
Yeah. Catcher.
Should have doubted myself, should I? Who did you play? And if you say villager number 2, I'm going to cry.
Thankfully, no. I was actually the lead in that one. Her name is Molly.
Her name is Molly. Are you sure they didn't make this roll up for you? Because I have never heard of Molly in the Peter Pan world. So,
she is kind of the Wendy of this story. So yeah, it's about Peter Pan before he even gets to Neverland. Let's see, hold on. I've got to process it in my head. Yes. We left England.
This is very method.
It's been a while since I did the play. Gosh, it's almost been 2 years. Yeah,
well,
so it's about.
I was expecting it to be like, it's been a while since I'm going back 10 years now and trying to. It's 2 years. It's not that long.
Well, I'm sorry. Okay, I've done a few shows since then.
Sorry, I forget that you're the constant professional. Sorry. Okay, sorry. Molly, tell me, what were you doing?
So it's about this girl and her father who, okay. It's about this girl and her father who are transporting this magic stuff called star stuff, to, I think, the queen or something, I don't know. And, the pirates take over and they take the star stuff, and then we wash up in this island that apparently becomes Neverland. And Peter and a couple of the lost boys are prisoners on one of the ships. They're like slave boys going to be sold. And then it's just about trying to save the star stuff. And yeah.
Now, my only question at this point is, have you forgotten the name of the stuff, or is it literally called Star Stuff?
It is literally Star Stuff.
Oh dear.
There's a whole scene where everybody becomes a mermaid, and we sing about we used to be fish, because it's like after the intermission, and all the pirates and all the rest of the cast come out as mermaids, and they're like, we were fish, but now we're mermaids because of Star Stuff, and it's really fun.
Did you fly?
No, we didn't have the rigging for that kind of thing.
So just throw you. Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll have a look for it. I'll see if there's any productions going on here. It sounds interesting, I suppose, is the word I can use.
Yeah. It is a real thing, I promise.
Yeah, no. I'm sure it is, and I'm sure there were people there and everything. And yeah, no, why not? Yeah, I'm wondering. I'm having flashbacks to last week's episode and Dante talking about his love of the sea and of the pirate ships and things like that, and I'm just seeing all the webs, all the threads connecting and converging here. So it all makes sense now. I've understood everything. Wonderful. So you said you had to kind of go and see a lot of these shows and things for your so you have a degree in theatre, did you say?
Yeah.
So kind of what was involved then in, was this sort of you having to analyze these plays and break them down, and what was sort of involved in doing that? Because I kind of feel like I know what people look for when they are critiquing a film. It's quite easy. You've got sort of the cinematography, you've got the dialogue, you've got the story, you've got a lot of kind of the post-production stuff and what went into that. What are you looking for when you are critiquing these shows?
Well, it's fairly similar to when you're critiquing a film, except you also take into account the set and how actors were able to interact with it. You take in what the theme of the play was, and how well it was played out. You have to consider how well it was performed, how engaging it was. You think about the time period it represents, just about everything about it. And it was interesting. We got to go see both bad and good shows, anything by the National Theatre. That was amazing. But there were some that we went to see by local theaters that they were just bad. They were poorly done. So it was nice to see both sides of it.
So
and to
you sort of preempted a question, because I was going to ask you what's the worst play you've seen. But before I ask this, and before you answer, bear in mind that I will require details as to why it was so bad. But I also am intrigued when you say like we had to go and see good shows and bad shows. Did you go to see a show knowing it was going to be bad? Like being told, "Hey guys, get ready. So this is going to be a really bad show, and you're going now to see how bad it is." Because I feel that that's a little bit mean. But if it was just, we went to a show and it happened to be bad, and this is why, you don't seem quite as terrible as, look, these people have worked really hard. It's terrible. Let's go see it. So,
well,
with all of that in mind, what's the worst show you've been to see?
Well, okay, so I went to one school out in Pennsylvania, and nearby there was another school that was in the theater community fairly well renowned for putting on bad shows. Not for lack of trying. They definitely tried, and one of my professors actually said that a while ago they put on a really good show, so it's kind of like a hit and miss thing. So they have a reputation of not being great, but we go see their shows because they happen to be like ones that we're going to talk about in class. Like once they put on the Glass Menagerie, and we were talking about the Glass Menagerie in class, so but the worst one I've seen was actually one of theirs, unfortunately. And it was The Importance of Being Earnest. And we went and saw that because we had just performed it at my school.
Oh, no. That's like the worst time to go and see something when you are literally just going to be like, yeah, we did that better.
It wasn't my idea. It was definitely the professor's idea. But they actually came and saw our show because they were doing it later. And they actually took ideas from our show, we noticed. But it was so bad because their acting wasn't great, for one. It wasn't horrendous, but it wasn't great. And the set was lacking. It was just like there was almost nothing there. But it wasn't like purposefully lacking. And then the costumes didn't fit anyone. And the women's dresses were like pants.
Okay, I was going to ask before that, had they just gone and taken the costumes from your play as well? And we're like, they've already got the costumes, we'll just use those, but hadn't thought that they wouldn't fit.
No, thankfully. So, we had, yeah.
I have a follow-up, very important question. Did they have real cucumber sandwiches or not?
Did they? I don't think they did cucumber sandwiches. I know we did.
I mean, I don't see how you could possibly do The Importance of Being Earnest without the cucumber sandwiches. They play
it is very
vital role. The whole first scene is just a discussion about cucumber sandwiches with a little bit of extra dialogue thrown in.
It's true.
Here's my question then. You said you did that as well. Who were you in The Importance of Being Earnest? I
actually didn't get a part in that.
Did they let you make the sandwiches?
No, I was the assistant stage manager.
All right. Okay. Well, I mean, that's quite an important job, so.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, there's not that many characters in the play, really.
Yeah. I'm impressed that we actually had enough at our school because it's small, so.
But I mean,
and the theater department's really small.
I'm just quickly like in my mind trying to recap the whole book or like the whole play, and I'm just thinking like the majority of scenes are like 4 or 5 people at a time. I think there is a couple of parties, though, isn't there? Or there's at least one sort of party, and so yeah, I suppose there are a few bigger scenes, but Oscar Wilde, excellent, well done. Yeah. So have you done any Shakespeare? I suppose that's another one I should throw out there.
Yeah, I a couple summers ago I was in The Tempest.
Okay.
I played the way the director did it for this was that Ariel was kind of in 4 parts. So there was the main Ariel, who was air, and then he split us into elementals, and there was water, earth, and fire, and I was earth.
Right, okay. Messing with it, but that's fine. It's an interpretation.
It was still,
we'll allow it.
She mostly played all of the parts. I only had like 3 lines, so.
Oh no! Didn't they know how angry that would make you?
That was actually.
What is?
It was outdoors too, and we had to perform once in the rain. I was thankful that it was only once, though.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, especially if you're earth, you're gonna get all wet. That's not nice. I mean, if you're water, it's fine. But I mean, well,
right? Yeah.
Fire was probably in trouble, but for the rest of you, all right? Yeah. I mean, I guess, but you mentioned the rain and stuff, but there's another element that kind of comes in to the whole like live performance. So, okay, rain can be expected. What is like the strangest thing to have occurred while you were either on stage or even in the audience, but like some event that you were just not expecting to happen in the theatre?
Okay. So at my other school I went to, we were doing this play called Rehearsal for Murder, which is a great play. And there's a couple gunshots that go off during the play.
Right.
So the guy that had the guns with the blanks in it was standing backstage because that's where we did the sound from. And he was waiting for the cue, but it went off early.
Okay.
And so it just happens in the middle of everything. They're having a conversation on stage, and so they all have to play it off like it was just something normal.
Yeah. And
they actually did pretty well, but that's probably the weirdest thing that's happened. Rehearsals are weirder. I've had people pass out during rehearsals.
Yeah. Just
but
commitment to the role. They're just like, I'm so involved in this. Yeah. Yeah, I'm wondering how you play off a gunshot. You're just probably like, oh, did you hear that? Yes, we really should be moving house, shouldn't we? This neighborhood is getting rougher and rougher each day. And then, oh, wow. When you say like the guys behind with the gun with the blanks in it, and it's Rehearsal for Murder, and I'm just thinking of sort of that classic trope from kind of your Columbo or your Agatha Christie kind of things, where it's like, what did they? Oh, they switched out the blanks for real bullets in the theater, and that's how they did it. And yeah, so a Rehearsal for Murder. That's oh dear, it's a dangerous place to be. Okay, yeah. I suppose another question I would have then, I'm just making these up as we go along, but would be, is there a play that is considered kind of a classic or everybody loves or raves about that you just do not like? Dare I say hate?
The only one I can think of right now would be The Importance of Being Earnest.
Now, is that because you were bitter about not getting a part? Or was it because you saw a terrible rendition by this other theatre group? Or is it because you just don't like Oscar Wilde?
No, I like Oscar Wilde, and I can appreciate that the play is very good. It's the problem of I heard it about 200 times without being really a part of it. So it just became annoying.
Yeah, I could get that. I mean, do you find that happens then? Do you get like fatigue from, because you were saying about like a film, you can see a film 2-3 times, it's identical, but every time you go to the theatre, it's you can see the same show twice and it's different each time. But at the same time, like, you watch a film once and then you probably don't watch it again for a while. Like you give yourself some time between. But if you're like, especially if you're maybe, as you said, like you're doing stage directions or you're working in the background somewhere and you're having to see this show every night or multiple times a day, you're not even in it and you're just watching the same thing over and over and over again. Do you get like fatigue quite easily because of these shows?
Sometimes.
Or
it depends on the show. Like
time?
Well, with Ernest, it was pretty quick that I was just like, okay, I've had enough of this show. But with other shows, it does take a lot longer. I think it partially has to do with the people you're working with, because of course they always make it better or worse. And and the director, because the director for The Importance of Being Earnest was very nitpicky, and so we had to go back and repeat like the last 3 lines over and over again, kind of thing.
Right. Oh, I remembered another question I had about both your production and the other school's production, or the other theatre troupe's production. Were people doing accents?
In ours, yes, they were. And
okay. Were the
they
accents
were fine.
Good? All right, they were fine.
I mean, I think maybe 1 or 2 were kind of like, oh, you probably shouldn't be doing an accent, but everybody else is, so.
Yeah, because it's weird that they were doing Japanese.
I don't. I think the other schools was, and I think they were all right. One guy decided he was Scottish, which was interesting, but.
Yeah. And how did that sound?
It was actually pretty good. Thankfully, he only had like 2 lines, so he only had to work on those.
I was really hoping just to get you to go full Scottish there. Just deliver the lines in your best Scottish accent, but you avoided my trap. You narrowly escaped. Well done. Kassi, normally at this time I would hand over to my guest and I would say to them, well, do you have any questions for me about your topic of the theatre?
What shows have you seen that you've really enjoyed?
All right, what shows have I seen that I've enjoyed? Okay, a show that I've seen a couple of times, and Dante should write this down. He'll like it. Is The Pirates of Penzance.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that one.
Yeah, so I remember seeing the old there was a film of it a long time ago. And I remember we used to have that on video, but I think that's probably one of the shows I've been to see the most times, because it's rare that I would have gone and seen the same thing more than once. But for some reason, I have seen that show a couple of times, and it's just one of those sort of nostalgia things. And let me tell you this, I've been to Penzance. There's nothing there. it's like the kind of, because of the shape of England, it's like almost the furthest sort of south you can go, because you've got to go south and all the way to the end, all the way across. So it's a lot of work to get there for not much, but I've been there. I've seen a lot of the Andrew Lloyd Webber shows. I think particularly once I got married and started coming back to England with my wife, my mum would always kind of make the effort that we would go and see whichever that sort of show was on at the time. So I think we went and saw Joseph, and we went and saw Starlight Express, and probably some other things. A show, a couple of other shows that pop into my mind. I went and saw one that was called The Play What I Wrote, and it was, I don't know if you know, do you know Morecambe and Wise?
No.
So they were some kind of these 2 comedians. This is a very, very long time ago, and this was a kind of a tribute act to them. But the way it was done was that the one was kind of claiming he'd written a play, and the other guy was like, "Yeah, we're gonna do your play," but actually he was setting it up so they were just doing sketches of Morecambe and Wise, and he was not telling him that basically they'd only got the funding to do this Morecambe and Wise tribute act, but he kept kind of trying to play it off like they were doing this other play. So it was kind of surreal, because it was sort of a play within a play within a play almost. So that was cool. And I'm trying to think, we saw something else recently. Oh, we went and saw Singing in the Rain. Oh, do you hear that? That was my wife off pod doing what you normally do, shouting in from the other side of the room. She said she wasn't shouting. Gently helping from the other side of the room. We went and saw Singing in the Rain. And what was interesting is that we actually took my grandparents as sort of a gift for them, that we went to see this show. But they were only about 6 cast members who did everything. And they were playing instruments during it, and they were doing all the songs and all the things, like playing multiple roles, being the extra. So what you'd always kind of have maybe 2 or 3 that were the main characters in the scene, and the others would just fill in all the kind of background roles and be doing different things, which meant they were all like super talented because they were doing so many different things, and that was really good. So yes, everybody listening to this, I am slightly cultured. There we go. And yeah, they did the whole rain on the stage, and if you were sitting near the front, it got very wet. There was a lot of because they were the rain came down on the stage, and the stage obviously filled with water as well. And you know when they were kind of like sweeping the leg, it was very deliberate on sort of just booting as much water into the audience as they could possibly get. And at the whole time, the showing that we went to, I kept getting distracted because in the corner there was a guy signing the whole thing, because it was also the like the production for the sign language people as well. So it was like the whole time I was like looking there, and then I'm going, I wonder how he's doing this in sign language, and I'm just sort of looking over to the other side just to see. I didn't learn much sign language, but I did enjoy the show. So and I'm being told Starlight. I already mentioned Starlight Express. Yeah. And I already mentioned Joseph. And now she's going, and that's all you've taken me for. I'm so sorry. We'll go see something else. Oh, I'm being, I should lock the door. Yes, so there's some of the plays I have been to see.
Have you ever been in anything?
Have I ever been in anything? Surely, yeah, probably. Can I remember? No. I've never been in a school play. I got very close once to doing it. So my school, they were doing a production of Grease, a classic there, and I remember going and doing the auditions, and they put up like a kind of callback list.
Yeah.
And they divided it into like groups basically on like if you were going to get a big part or if you were going to just be kind of very background character or maybe not in it at all because you had to kind of come back and redo it. And there was a name in like the kind of top list. And the problem was that they had written Jason Coxon. Okay? So they'd misspelt my surname. Or had they? Because another student at the school, his name was Jake Coxon. So it was either... So in my logic is that, it's much easier that you miss the R out in my surname than you completely change his first name. But there was a little bit of like, oh, well, we're not really sure. We're not sure who they wrote down. And then they were like, oh, and then maybe you should come for both the rehearsals, come back to, and I was just like, this sounds like it's a lot of work. So I didn't follow that up. But my drama teacher got a bit angry with me because I didn't take drama at school. Like I took it during the first sort of 3 years of secondary school when you had to do it, and then you had to kind of choose your options. And she was very kind of persistent that I would take. You've got to take drama. You're really good. You should do this. And I had to make a choice between taking drama or IT. And I just felt, for some reason, that IT might serve me better in the real world. So I made that choice. Now, she disagreed with that. She sort of assured me I would get a good grade if I did drama. But looking back, the best grade I got when I finished school was in IT. So, I mean, at the end of the day, wasn't a terrible choice, was it? Okay. Any other questions, or should I move on to the questions without context?
I can't think of any others.
I will take that as a yes, you must move on to the questions without context. Right, okay. I'm just looking for... Alright, here's an interesting question. What's interesting is that this person asked the question, and then Dante put a comment on this person's question. So he clearly feels this is an important question. This is from Travis Bow of the Real Heroes podcast, I think, and Watchman Minute, if I'm not wrong. And his question is, what is your favorite type/brand of mustard?
Oh, wow. But probably, I don't know brands so much, but I do know that Dijon or Honey Dijon is my favorite type.
I feel you've made a very good choice there. And I would expect nothing less from somebody that enjoys the theatre. So, well done. Carlisle, who kindly provided the music for this show and also has a couple of his own podcasts as well, has asked, how many chickens crossing the road does it take to change a light bulb?
I guess it would either be a lot or none at all, because chickens aren't very good at changing light bulbs.
Yep. I'm thinking he was just trying to make a joke, to be honest with you. I don't feel he was so serious. Now, I'm wondering if this question was prompted because he may have seen a question that was sent in by Phil Better from the Phil Better Show, because he asked, how many chickens does it take to make chicken pot pie?
Probably just one.
I would have thought just one. I mean, I guess it depends on how big a pie you're making.
That's
but
fair.
But you've limited it to the fact that it's a pot pie. So
yeah,
unless you've got some insanely big pot, Phil, we're saying one. He asked another question that I'm intrigued for your answer to. Who is the best podcaster?
Well, my husband, who does so many podcasts and works so hard on them, is the best podcaster.
Okay, so I mean, a lot of people just switched off and unsubscribed to Dante's podcasts, but that's fine.
Yeah, I've gotta be a supportive wife. I have to.
That is good. That is commendable. And next time we'll get you on the show. That can be your topic of lying for your husband. Let me see. Let me just scroll through. We've got a few other interesting ones. Okay. This one will make more sense to you because it's an American expression. It's not an American expression. It will make sense when I explain now what the question is. Justin Landy asks, what makes your favorite pair of pants your favorite? Now, it's important that I ask that to an American and not an English guest, because the answer might have been slightly different. But as an American, and taking that to mean the type of pants that you do, what makes your favorite pair your favorite pair? Do you have a favorite pair?
Yeah, it's probably just my plain black pair because they're really comfortable and they go with everything.
And when you wear them and you're like in the background on the theatre and it's dark, nobody can see your legs.
Right.
So you just are hovering through the background. That's great. Okay. And I've just seen another question from Phil Better, and I will ask him that one. That is, why did you choose to do Jason's podcast and not mine?
Well, I suppose one of the biggest reasons would be that Jason asked and Phil didn't.
Yeah. Take that, Phil. You're so rude. And why don't we finish up with a final question from the man himself, our good friend Dante. So he sent in a lot of questions. I'm going to save a lot of them for other guests. But I would love to hear your answer to this one. Which famous person do you think you resemble the most?
Oh, wow. Actually, what's her name? Something Liberato or Liberati or something like that. Strikes me that it might be Sophia. I don't know. But she's in, what is that called? Best of Me. She plays the young version of the main girl. And there was actually a scene where I just saw a picture of it. And I was like, wait, I wasn't in a movie.
Well, maybe you were just giving stage directions at the side of the movie and getting
maybe.
Sorry.
But
what was the show? Best of Me?
Yeah.
Never heard of it. So Best of Me, and her name was what? You think it was Sophia?
That's what I remember, but I'm probably very wrong.
Right, I've probably put in a very incorrect spelling of this person's name.
Where's...
I've got a Lina Liberato. Is it her?
Might be. Let me see.
Well, hold on.
Yes, Liana.
Okay.
Liana Liberato.
Liana Liberato. Let me see. Right. I mean, it's very dark where you are, so Okay. I can kind of see it. Yeah.
There was like just this picture of a moment in the movie, and I was very thrown off because it looked just like me.
You literally thought you'd been in a movie.
A little bit. I was kind of offended that they hadn't paid me yet.
Yeah, I was going to say, that was probably the bigger concern, wasn't it? You don't mind. I mean, stick me in your movie, it's fine. Just, where's my check? That's
right.
That's the issue, isn't it? And this is I just saw this question out the corner of my eye, and I thought it would be good that we just get you on record with this, because it's another one from Dante. And the fact that he's asking is interesting. So, how many podcasts is too many?
Let's see. How many is he doing? Like 3. Probably gonna say 3, maybe 4.
Oh, maybe. Don't say maybe 4. You're giving him wiggle room that he can come up with another. We very subtly hinted at the idea of maybe a Batman podcast. That would be amazing. So don't give him that. You know, you should probably have said 2 is already too many.
Yeah.
That's
wow,
I mean
2.
The clue is in the word 2, isn't it? 2 are too many. There you go. Yeah.
Right.
No, don't say 2 because I've got 3. So 3. That's the magic number. We'll accept that.
All right.
Okay. Well, Kassi, thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Despite what you claimed was a sore throat, but has clearly been proven to be untrue, and that you were just trying to make excuses not to come on. But we're just going to go straight past that.
I don't have a sore throat right now. My voice is wrong right now.
Your voice is wrong. Okay.
Yes.
That's fine. All right, we'll accept that very weak excuse, but it doesn't matter because we've got you now. We had you, so it's fine. But I would love to get you back on in the future for another episode on a completely different topic.
Yeah, that's fun.
I feel privileged that you actually came on this, so well done. After having just heard you shouting in from the corner of the room multiple times, and yet no one was said, "Hey, Kassi, why don't you go in front of the mic? Let's stick Dante in the corner of the room and you have a turn." Is there anything you'd like to plug? Any of the projects you're working on at the moment?
Well, I do have a podcast in the works, titled right now Voices from Before. It'll be a scripted podcast with a post-apocalyptic theme. It will include a lot of writings from different people, and I'm looking forward to getting it out there.
Okay, so that's something to look forward to, and otherwise I'm sure people can hear you cropping up on Dante's other podcasts or whenever he guests on anybody else's podcast. So if you, for some strange reason, want to hear more from me, you can go to jasoncroxon.co.uk, and there you can find my other podcasts, Getting to Know Who, which, Kassi, you've been on that, haven't you? I'm sure you did an episode with Dante, yes. I can't remember who went. Yeah, I think I just did. We won't mention that. So you can go and listen to that episode if you like, or any of the other ones if they get made. And you can also see my new podcast, All Across Fitness, where you can actually see me, which is, I don't know, good or bad, depending on what you think, I suppose. But all the links to that are probably down below in the show notes if I've been clever enough to do that, or otherwise just go to jasoncroxon.co.uk. If you want to write a review or something like that, I never really ask, so why not do that for once. Once again, big thank you to Kassi for coming on. Big thank you to everybody who listened all the way to the end. Well done, you. And we'll see you all next week for another episode of A Conversation With.
Well, he's got a new guest, time to put put him to the test. Oh, yeah. What's the topic? We don't know, cause he never does research for this show. His name is Jason. He wants to talk to you about a topic you love or something you do. No two topics are ever the same. That might sound impressive, but they're all pretty lame. A conversation with